In this video, we will talk about text-based formulas. So we have upper, lower, proper, trim, proper plus trim. So let's learn about them one by one. In this video, we will talk about upper and lower. Okay. So here we have a sample data, let's say employee names. Okay. So here we have employee names, right? But as you can see, they are not in the proper format. For example, A is small, M is capital, right? So Amit Sharma, but this is not a correct way to write a name. Okay, so it's like employees has submitted some forms. Now it's your responsibility to change it to the correct format. For example, if you are working for a bank, then bank will require all the names in the capital letters, right? So we have a upper formula. It will make everything in uppercase. Okay, so let me show you how to do it. Just type is equal to and type U double P, and you can see it is recommending a formula of upper. Okay, so to use it, either we can double click on it or we can use a tab key to complete the formula, right? So I have pressed the tab key and it has autofilled the formula, and you can see an opening bracket here. Okay, so in Excel every formula will have an opening and a closing bracket, right? So what we have to type here in the brackets, see, it is suggesting you to enter the text here. Okay, so we have to select the cell where we have our text. Okay, so just select the cell by clicking on it, and you can see it has auto filled it. Okay, so A3, it means A column, third row, right? So A3. Now close the bracket and hit enter, and you can see it has converted the employee name Amit Mishra to the uppercase, right? So this way you can make everything capital by using upper formula. Okay, so in the same way you can do it with all these employees. Okay, but for this there is no need to type the same formula again and again. Instead, you can select the cell where you have applied the formula. Okay, go here at the bottom right corner and you can see the sign, the cursor sign has changed, right? Here you can see a fat white plus sign, but when you go here you can see a thin black plus sign. Okay, so once you are here, just double click on it and you see the magic. Okay, it has converted all of the employee names in the capital letters. Okay, now it doesn't matter where employees are 6. Okay, in here we have demo, so 1 2 3 4 5 6, we have 6 employees, but in real world you have thousands of employees, right? So when you double click here, all of the names of the employees, okay, number doesn't matter here, all will be converted to the capital letter, right? So we have learned about uppercase. Now let's talk about lower. This formula will convert everything in lowercase. Okay, so let's see, is equal to LOW, and you can see it is recommending lower. Just use the tab key. Okay, again select the field, select the cell, close the brackets and hit enter. That's it. Okay, so it has changed the employee name to the lowercase, right? Now same way, just go here at the bottom right corner, double click on it and see every employee name is converted in lowercase, right? So we have a demo data where I have intentionally put the employee names in a different way, like here Rahul Mishra, first alphabet is capital and rest are small. Rohan Mehta is completely in capital, then last two are completely in lowercase, right? So it's a mixed data, right? So we have seen how we can use upper and lowercase. Now in the next video we will talk about proper and trim, and then we will see a combination of both proper plus trim. Now let's talk about proper and trim formulas. Okay, but before that I have provided extra spaces here, like in between Rahul and Mishra I have provided 2 extra spaces. Okay, and before starting Ram Kumar I have given some spaces here. Okay, so these are the unnecessary spaces, right? So now we have a proper formula which will actually convert your data in proper case. Okay, what I mean by that, see, when we use proper formula, it will going to convert the first letter from each word as a capital and rest are small. Okay, so in Amit Sharma, A would be capital and MIT will be small. Okay, then in Sharma, S will be in uppercase and HARMA will be in lowercase. So let's see, is equal to proper, use a tab key, provide this cell, close the bracket, hit enter, and you can see there are two words Amit Sharma. Okay, and you can see the first letter will be capital and rest are small. Okay, so to apply it, just go here and double click on it and done. Okay, now this is not a correct way to show the data to the management. As you know, we have some unnecessary spaces here, right? So now we have to remove these unnecessary spaces before presenting the data to the management, because this is not in the correct way, right? So using proper formula, you have completed 50% of the task. Okay, now the remaining 50% will be completed by the trim formula. We use trim formula to remove unnecessary spaces. Okay, now trim formula is quite intelligent to understand that it must leave one space in between two words. Okay, so it will not going to remove the single space between Amit Sharma. Okay, right, but it will remove the unnecessary space between Rahul Mishra, right? And it will also quite intelligent to understand that no sentence will start by providing spaces. Okay, so let's see, is equal to trim, tab key, select the cell, close the brackets, hit enter and done. Okay, now double click, see it has removed the starting space from Ram Kumar and also unnecessary space between Rahul and Mishra, right? So trim formula will know that I have to leave one space between two words. Okay, and it will make sure that no sentence will start from this space. Okay, it will make sure that every single word will start from this starting, very starting. Okay, from the beginning without any spaces. So trim formula will complete your 50% task and proper formula will complete the 50% task. Now if you want a proper 100% corrected data, then we have to use a combination of proper plus trim. Okay, so trim will remove the unnecessary space and proper will convert the first letter of a word as a capital, right? So let's see how we can combine two different formulas in Excel. Okay, so remember one thing, whenever you want to combine two formulas in Excel, you have to put one formula inside another. Okay, let's see, is equal to proper, tab key, bracket open. Now instead of providing the cell name, we will provide the formula name. So TRI and tab key, and you can see one more bracket is opened. So here we have to assign the cell number. Okay, so A3 is our cell name. Now close the bracket. Now we have to add one more bracket, as we know that proper formula is outside the trim. So we have to provide two closing brackets here, right? So how it will work? See, Excel will first go here, that A3. So it will see we have Amit Sharma as a data, okay, as a text. Then it will go to the trim. Okay, so it will apply trim formula on A3 and then whatever output will come, and at last it will apply the proper formula. Okay, so first it will going to trim it and then it will going to use proper. Okay, so just hit enter and see the magic. Okay, so first letter is capitalized and unnecessary space has been removed. Double click on it and see. Okay, so first it has trimmed the unnecessary space, okay, wherever it is required, and then it has converted the first letter of each word as a capital, right? So this is how you can use proper formula, trim formula, and a combination of proper plus trim. So in real world, you will need this kind of data most of the time, right? So you have to use a combination of both of these formulas. it will make your task easier and will save you a lot of time, okay, because it is not possible for you to manually correct each and everything, right? You have learned how to combine two formulas, right? Now you can change the formula if you want, okay? You can also change it from here as well, okay, in the formula bar. So we will replace proper with, let's say, upper, okay, hit enter, and you can see Amit Sharma is now in capital, right? So but you must know that which two formula you are going to combine. For example, if you use lower here instead of trim, if you use lower here, okay, so lower, hit enter, you can see the output in the uppercase, because the system will first select A3, that is Amit Mishra, then convert it into lowercase, and whatever output it will get, it will convert it in the uppercase at the end, okay, because upper is outside, right? So Excel will solve the formula like first in the brackets, then in the second brackets, and at last the outer formula, okay. So this is not useful at all, because you can get the same result by using upper formula alone, right? So you must understand that which formula you want to combine, okay. So let me change it to again proper, then trim, and at last the column name, okay, the cell name. So A is the column, 3 is the row, so A3 is the cell name. Hit enter. Okay, we have a mistake. See, we have not used the two closing brackets, okay. So Excel has used a pop-up to tell us that you have forgot something, right? Hit enter and you can see the output, right? So you can combine two formulas in Excel by using one inside another. Okay, so if you know Excel, you must know about lookups, VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, right? But I will show you a formula which is far better than VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, right? Because lookups involve manual work and we are going to automate the task. So suppose you are a business owner and you have 5 different businesses, right? So these are your business names in column A, and then you have years, and then you have profits, okay. So business name, year, and profit, okay. So this is a demo data, that's why it is a very small data, but in real world you have a lot of data, right? And it is not easy task for you to search for a particular profit for a particular year and for a particular business, right? So instead of performing this task manually, you can actually automate it, right? So first we will see what VLOOKUP is. So here we have a business name, then year, and now you are looking for profit, okay. So you want to know the profit for business 4 in year 2020, right? So if you use VLOOKUP, it says lookup value, okay. So here is our lookup value, okay. I want to know the profit for business 4. Then it asks for table array, okay. So select the data, okay, from A1 to F6. Then it's asking for column index number, okay. So suppose we want to know for 2020, so column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. So we will write 4 here, and at last we will use false. It means we are looking for exact match, okay. Hit enter and you will get the output as $12,678, okay. Here it is, you can see it is the exact match, right? So this is the profit for business 4 in year 2020, okay. So this is how VLOOKUP works. Now what if you change the year here, let's say 2021, hit enter and you can see nothing changes here, right? So this is the problem with VLOOKUP, okay. It will not going to automatically change the things, okay. So if you want to know the profit for 2021 for business 4, you have to edit it manually because 2021 is the fifth column, right? So we have to replace 4 with 5 here. Okay, hit enter and now you will get the output, right? So this is the problem with VLOOKUP, right? So we will see how we can automate the task. So whenever we change the year here or business name here, we will get the profit automatically, right? Because it is not an easy task to go again and again and change the columns in formula or anything else, right? So we have a formula with the name index, okay, and match formula. Okay, so we have index and match formula. These are two different formulas, index formula and match formula. Now if you remember from the previous video, we have seen how we can combine two formulas, proper and trim. In the same way, we will going to use index and match together. Now let's see how we can use index and match formulas. So we will going to combine index and match same as we have done before in the case of proper and trim, right? So first let's see index formula and then we will talk about match formula. Okay, so index formula is like a GPS for the map. Okay, so whenever you search for a location, it will calculate its longitude and latitude, and where they both meet, that point would be your location. Okay, that's how GPS works, right? So index formula is like a GPS. Okay, so let's see the practical. Okay, so here let me delete this VLOOKUP and is equal to index. Now here in the index formula, Excel is asking three things from us. First is array, then row number and then column number. Okay, so array is a word which Microsoft Excel uses in order to ask for the complete data set. Okay, so Excel is actually asking our complete data. Okay, so we have to select whole data here. Okay, from A1 to F6, right? Then use comma and now it's asking for row number. Row number is like a latitude. Okay, so what is the row number for business 4? It's 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so we will use 5 comma column number. Which year we are looking at? It's 2021. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5, fifth column. Okay, so again we have to write 5 here. Okay, or let's take 4 here. Okay, let's say we are looking for 2020. Okay, and close the bracket. Okay, hit enter and you will get the answer. Okay, it doesn't matter what you have written here because this formula is not an automatic. Okay, we have to manually use it, right? That's why we are able to see the answer what we have asked for and not what year we have entered here, right? So it's 2020. See, nothing changes, right? Again, index alone is not sufficient to automate the process. We also need match formula here. Okay, match formula. So what is match formula? See, in the case of index formula, we are providing latitude and longitude, that is row and column numbers, right? And then we are getting the answer. But here in the match formula, we only ask for what we need. Okay, like business 4 and year. And match formula will automatically give us row and column numbers. Okay, that's how it works. So when we combine both of them, index and match, we are actually automating the whole process. Okay, so let's see the match formula. So if I use is equal to match, it says please provide lookup value. Okay, lookup value is what you are looking at. For example, we are looking at business 4 right now. Okay, so select that. Okay, then comma lookup array. Here there is no need to select the complete data. It's just asking for a single column. Okay, where we have our business names. It means the first column, right? Then at last it says, what are you looking at? We are looking at exact match. Okay, so 0. Close the brackets, hit enter. You can see business 4 is at the 5th number in this column. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It's 5th number. Okay, so this is the match formula for column. Now let's talk about the match formula for rows as well. Okay, so for rows, formula would be same. So match lookup value. Okay, what you are looking at? So we are looking at 2020, comma, lookup array, that is this one. This time we will selecting the first row only and not the complete data here, comma, again we are looking for exact match. You can see the answer is 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2020 is at the 4th column. Okay, okay, it's row, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one is for the row and this one is for the column. Okay, so let me change this, match for row, and here match for column, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have total 6 columns, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, again we have 6 rows as well, right? Now if I change business 4 to, let's say, business 5, and I hit enter, you can see match row has been changed to 6. Okay, so let me again change this to 4. It changes automatically. Same way, if we go for the column, that is for the year, and if I type 2021, see the column here. Okay, as soon as I hit enter, the column output changes automatically, right? If I change it again to 2020, the output will change again. Okay, so here we have used the match formula for rows only, and here we have used for the column only, right? Now let's see how to combine index and match formulas together. So we are actually using match formula inside the index. So index would be at the outer side and match would be inside. Okay, so let me show you. You can see this is the index formula. Now here at the row number, we will replace this formula and let's paste it here. Okay, so here we have 5 as a row number, so replace 5 with the match formula for row. Okay, hit enter. Now the work is not done. We also have to copy match formula of column, and again we have to replace 4, okay, which we have used as a column number, replace it with the match formula for column, and now hit enter, right? So this time if you try to change this to 3, you can see the output for business 3 and year 2020 is this, which is the exact match for our output, right? Now if you change this 2020 to, let's say, 2019, see output changes. Now let's change this to business 5. So business 5, year 2019, the output is same. Okay, see the magic of index and match formula when they are combined together. Okay, so now we have automate the process. So if you changes anything here or anything here, you will get the exact match using the automatic process. Okay, so you have learned about index formula, match formula for rows, and match formula for column, and then how to use both of them with the index formula. So this is the combined formula which we are actually looking for. Okay, this is the formula which help us to automate the complete process for us. Okay, so we have index formula, then we have to select complete data set, then we have the match formula for row only, and at last we have match formula for column. And when we combined all of them together, we are actually using the power of index and match formula together, right? So you have learned about index and match formula and how to combine them. Now here you have a table with product names like shirts, jackets and t-shirts, and here are the sizes small, medium and large, and these are the prices in US dollar for each product as per their sizes. So for the shirt with smaller size, $10 would be the price. Okay, same for jackets, t-shirts, so small, medium, large along with the product names. And here we have a cell where you have to put product name, right? Or you can even create a list here so that you can select from the list. But for now, leave that. Just type the product name, okay, and size, small, medium or large, okay, and find me the price for medium size jackets, okay. We all know that the price is $45, okay, but I want you to insert index and match formula and then get me the answer. Okay, you can create them in any cell. Okay, you can type the formula here or here, that doesn't matter. So pause the video, complete the task. Once you get the solution, then resume the video and see the solution, right? I hope you all get the answers. Now you have to match your formula with mine. Okay, so let's say I want to type the formula here, but first let me create the match formula. So is equal to match lookup value. Okay, so we are looking for jackets, right? Then we have to provide lookup array, which is this one, and at last we will look for exact match, and you can see the answer is 3. Now let's use the match formula again for column this time. So match lookup value is medium, comma, lookup array, and then the exact match. So we have got the output 3 and 3. This 3 is for the jackets, that is 1, 2, 3, and this 3 is for the column, that is 1, 2, 3, medium size. Okay, so jacket and medium size, right? Now let's just copy this formula and now combine it with index. So index, array for index would be the complete table, right, comma, row number. See, instead of typing row number as 3, what we can do is we can paste the match formula which we have created for the row. Okay, then comma, again, now we can either type 3, okay, or we can use this formula. So for now, let's just type 3 and close the brackets, hit enter, we get the answer. Okay, now let's just copy the match formula for the column and replace this 3, okay, with that formula. So this would be your final answer. If your formula matches exactly same as this, then you have found the solution. So 45 here, right? Now if you change here anything, let's say, let's look for the large size, hit enter, and here you can see the price has changed to $50. Okay, so this is the final answer. Okay, so suppose you are responsible for continuously of, let's say, getting the total of something. Okay, let's say total sales or total revenues, or you need to find out, constantly find out the average of something, right? So we will see how we can use conditional formulas. Okay, for example, for total we use SUMIFs. Okay, so we have a table here, we have a data. So in the first column we have months, okay, January, February, March, April. Then we have products which your business are selling, so shirts, white shirt, yellow shirt, blue shirt, etc. Then we have country where you are selling your product like USA and UK, and then we have the revenue. So this is the total revenue for that particular product and particular month. Okay, so we will see how we can calculate the total of something based on certain criterias, right? For example, if you want to know, let's say, the total revenue for the month of February, Okay, so this is your condition 1, right? So we will use sum if. To get the total, we will use sum if. But here you can see two formulas, sum if and sum ifs, that is sum IFS. Okay, so what's the difference between the two? See, the first one, that is sum if, is the older version, okay, and sum IFS is the latest version. But Microsoft has decided to keep both the formulas. Okay, in the older one, we can only specify a single condition or single criteria, right? But in the latest version, that is sum IFS, we can apply multiple criterias. Okay, so suppose if you want to apply 100 criterias, you can do that. Okay, so based on conditions, we will try to find out the total using sum IFS. Okay, so sum IFS, bracket open. Here it is asking some more things like sum range. Okay, so sum range will be our revenue column, so select it, right, from D1 to D11, comma, it says specify criteria range. Okay, so criteria range is our month, because we want to find out the total sales for February. So we will have to select the complete column of months, that is from A1 to A11, comma. Now we have to specify our first criteria. Okay, so based on what you are looking for the results, so based on February. Okay, so select this cell, which is F4, and see here it says criteria range 2 and criteria 2. So if you specify more commas, you can see more criterias are opening, right? But for now we are applying only one criteria. So let me close this and hit enter. Now you have got the total, okay, of what? Of the month of February. So if you sum it up like 678 plus 124 plus 546 plus 783 plus 256, you will get this output. Okay, so this is the total of the all the revenues in the month of February. Okay, it doesn't matter what product it is, right? So this is one way of calculating. Now let's say we will increase our criteria. Okay, let's say we want to find out the total of something for the month of Feb, but this time we will also specify that we are particularly looking for the total of yellow shirt revenues. See, criterias can be based on anything, maybe on product or maybe on region. For example, if you ask, I want the total sales of from USA only. Okay, so we can do that also. But for now, we are specifying that we want the total revenue of yellow shirts, and that too in the month of February only, right? So what will Excel do now? Excel will calculate all the things. Okay, Excel will consider all the things and then it will filter out the month of Feb, and inside that it will again filter out the yellow shirts only, and then the remaining one will be calculated. Okay, so let's do that. Is equal to sum IFS, sum range, again it is revenue, right, comma, month, again comma, our first criteria, that is February, comma, now criteria range. So you can see yellow shirt is under products category, so we have to select complete column B. Okay, because this is the criteria range 2. Now criteria 2, that is yellow shirt. Done. Close the brackets, hit enter. Now we have got the total revenue of yellow shirts only, and that too in the month of February alone. Okay, so this is how you can add one or more criteria in the same formula. So we have used sum IFS based on conditions, and we have got our total, right? Now let's see what if we want to find out the average of something instead of total. So you have learned how to use sum ifs. Now let's see how to get the average of something. Okay, so this is condition 1, this is 2, and now let's talk about third. Okay, so let's say we want the average of yellow shirts revenue sold in the month of February. So February is the first condition, okay, and yellow shirt again is the second condition, right? Let me increase it. Okay, so we will use the formula average IFS. Okay, now it's asking average range, so again revenue. Then it says criteria range, that is month. Then we have our criteria first condition, that is month. Okay, let me select this, comma, criteria 1, comma, products, that is criteria range 2, comma, and then the second condition. Okay, same as sum ifs. Okay, hit enter, and now we have the average. So if you sum up these things, okay, and you want to try find out the average, you will get this output. Okay, here we have the total of yellow shirts, and this is the average of yellow shirts. Okay, now let's move on to, let's say, count ifs. So suppose you want to only count the number of products and nothing else, because in the real world you have a lot of data, thousands of rows of data, right? So in that case, it is not an easy task to calculate a product one by one. Here we have a sample data, so we can count it manually. Okay, so let's see how to sort this out using a formula. Okay, so again the same example. See, I am taking the same example so that you won't get confused, right? So February, and again yellow shirts. Okay, so this time we will apply the formula count IFS. See, we are using S at the end for each formula because this is the newer version. Okay, so count ifs, right? Now it says, see, COUNTIF is quite intelligent. Okay, it will remove, it will only consider your criteria, and rest of the things will be removed automatically. So there is no need to specify more things as we have done for the sum ifs and average ifs. Okay, what I mean by that, just see. Here in count ifs, we have to select the month column, comma, criteria 1, comma, the second range, comma, and yellow shirt. That's it. Okay, hit enter, and we have got the output as 3 because in the month of Feb we have 1, 2, 3 only, right? So based on our conditions, our criteria, we have got the output using count ifs. Okay, so here we have used sum if with one criteria only, you can see in the formula bar. Then we have mentioned two criterias. Okay, then using average IFS, and then at last we have used count ifs. So we have seen, or we have actually solved 4 different problems, okay, with their 4 different solutions, right? So you have learned about sum ifs, average ifs, and count ifs. Now here is a situation for you to practice. Here you have 3 columns. First, business. So you have 3 businesses, business 1, business 2, and business 3, which is represented as B1, B2, and B3. Okay. Then you have machines used. See, in some units of business 1, you are using one machinery, whether in others you don't, right? So B1 in some other region has one machine, but B1 on the other hand has 0 in somewhere else. Then you have income generated. Okay. So here you have 2 questions. First, find total income generated for B1 using sum IFS. Okay, and then find average income generated for B3 where machine use is 1 using average IFS formula. Okay, so you have to find out the average income of B3 where one machine is used. So B3 1, B3 1, and here B3 0. Right, so you have to find out the average, okay, of that income generated. So just pause the video and solve it yourself. Once done, then resume the video and match your answers with mine. Okay, so let me show you this solution. Okay, is equal to sum IFS, then we have to provide some range, okay, which is income generated, right, comma, then criteria range, that is business, comma, your condition, that is B1. Okay, close the bracket, hit enter, and here we have got the answer as $2239. Okay, if you want to cross check this, just go here and calculate the income generated of B1. Okay, now let's see average IFS. So is equal to average IFS, average range, that is income generated, comma, business, comma, our first criteria, comma, then machines, and then criteria 2, which is one machine used. Close the bracket, hit enter, and we have got the answer as 402. Right? So this is how you can solve this problem, and if your answers is same as mine, then congratulations. Now let's talk about workday.intl formula by Microsoft. Okay, so suppose your company is assigning you a project, okay, and you have got the start date for the project, and company will tell you that in how many days you have to complete this project, okay, and you want to find out the end date of the project. Okay, in that case we will use this formula. So let's see. So suppose start date for the project, let's say it would be 10th of March, so 10/03/2023. Okay, then you have working days. Okay, so let's say company will ask you to complete this project in, let's say, 5 days. Okay, and 5 working days and not 5 calendar days. Okay, then you have to find out the end date for your project. Okay, now you might be thinking that it's very simple, we will add 10 plus 5 and 15 would be the end date. Okay, but no, that's not the correct way to calculate end date, because each country has its own weekend, right? So company is asking for working days and not for the calendar days. Okay, and Microsoft Excel has two formulas for this. Okay, which is if workday and workday.intl. Now what's the difference between the two? See, workday, it is the formula specifically developed for the people living in USA. Okay, because we all know that Microsoft is from US, so it has developed a separate formula for US people, right? This formula is fixed and will already know that what are the weekends in US, right? But for the rest of the world, they have developed workday.intl formula, right? Because each country has its own weekend, like Saturday, Sunday, Sunday, Monday, only Sunday, right? So we have to use workday.intl. Okay, so let me show you how it works. So workday.intl. Now it's asking some more things like start date. Okay, so we have to select start date of our project, which is A4, then comma, number of working days, which is 5, so B4, comma, see, now it's asking for the weekend. Okay, so it's Saturday, Sunday, Sunday, Monday, only Monday, like this. So you can select from this list, right? So let's say for now we will select the very first option, double click on it, and then close the bracket. Done. See, if I don't close it, you can see it's also asking, when I use a tab key, you can see it says holidays at the end. Okay, so if you want to add any national holiday or your company specific holiday, you can do that here as well. Okay, but for now just leave it. So we have got the answer as 17. Okay, why 17? Because in between these days, between 10 to 17, we also have a weekend, right? But the problem with this formula is it works on Microsoft logic, okay, where Microsoft says that count the number of working days from the very next day of assigning the project. For example, company has assigned you project on 10th, then it will start counting working days from 11th and not from 10, okay, which is not a good thing, because in most of the countries the day you got your project, that would be the first working day of you for that project, okay. So to make it clear, we will use -1 at the end, okay. So now this is our final answer, okay. So starting from 10 including weekends, this will be our end date, okay. So we can use workday formula for this, but if you are from US, then you can simply use workday instead of workday.intl, okay. So is equal to workday, and you can see here it's asking you only start date and days, okay, and then holidays if any, but not weekend, because weekend is fixed here, right? So let me remove this, and we have got our end date of the project. Now Microsoft have created this formula just for the people who are using Excel, okay, to make sure they don't forget or don't miss the end date, okay, the deadline of their project, okay. For that purpose Microsoft has created this thing. Now let's say we know the start date of the project and end date of the project, and we have to find out working days, okay. So start date, end date, and now we have to find out working days, right? So for this we have one more formula called as network days, okay. Suppose start date is, let's say, 10th of April 2023, end date will be 13/04/2023. Now we have to find out the total working days. So is equal to, again, network days and network days.intl. We will go with .intl. So network days.intl. Microsoft Excel will asking for the start date, comma, end date. Again, weekend we will go with the first one, that is Saturday, Sunday, and holidays if any. So for now I will leave it blank, right? Hit enter, and you have got the answer as 4, okay. Why 4? Because the formula network days will also include the start date and end date while calculating working days, okay. Unlike the previous formula, here in workday.intl it is not including 10th, okay. It will start from the very next day, that is 11th. So we have to use -1 here, but in this formula there is no need to add or subtract anything, right? It will automatically include start date and end date for the project. Now I don't know why, but this is the Microsoft logic, okay. So we have got working days, but there is one more beauty of using workday and network days, okay, and that is if you change something here, okay, the output will also changes. In the same way, if we change anything here, our working days will change automatically, right? So this formula will also help us to detect the changes automatically and will change the output accordingly. Now let's talk about presenting the data to the management, okay. So what are the options you have, right? In order to impress your management, you have to show data in a very simple format, because it is not an easy task for the management to understand the data, because they are not habitual to it, okay. So the one way of showing the data is by creating a table like this, okay. This is a sample image I have downloaded from the internet. So this is the table, okay. So you are presenting data in the table format, right? Here you have 3 things only: revenue, expenses, profit or loss, for oatmeal, lemon and chocolate, right? But in real world you have a lot of data, okay, a lot of rows and columns, right? So, or it is a very time consuming process for the management, okay? So, what is the second option you have? You can create a chart to make things simpler, right? And chart is also looking a beautiful and easy to understand for the people in the management, okay? So you can create a chart like this. So for oatmeal, lemon and chocolate, and then revenue, expenses and profit or loss. How will you get profit or loss? By revenue minus expenses, right? But this is also not a good idea to create a chart like this, because it is simple to see only when products are less in number. What if you have 50 or let's say 100 of products? In that case, you cannot create chart like this. Suddenly your management asks you to compare product 1 with product, let's say 65. Okay, in that case, it is not an easy task for you to show them in this chart, because it's a very simple chart. It's a fixed chart, right? So, what else can we do? The third option is creating a dynamic chart. Okay, what I mean by that? Dynamic chart is the one which automatically changes when we ask it. For example, if we put, let's say, product 1, right, and hit enter in a cell where we have applied a special formula, in that case the chart will automatically changes. So let me show you by a practical example and also by creating a genuine table using a formula. So we are going to create a dynamic table by using a special formula in Excel. Now let's create the dynamic data with choose formula. Okay, CHOOSE, right? So for this we need a sample data. So let me just quickly create a sample data. Let's say we have products, then we have sales, then we have expenses, and then we have profit. Okay, so P1 is product 1, then P2 is product 2, P3, P4, P5. Okay, so we have 5 products in total. Now sales are this, okay, these are in US dollars. Then we have expenses, okay, then we have profits. Now for profit we will use is equal to sales minus expenses. Hit enter, double click, and here we have our profit, right? Now let me reduce the expense, because it is not a good idea to get so much of loss. So here we have this sample data, right? And using this data we are going to create the presentation of dynamic data with choose formula. Okay, so first let me show you what choose formula is. See, when we type is equal to choose, it will ask us index number. Now what is index number? Okay, so first let me create an index number. First let's just remove this, and first let me create index number. So here index number, let's say index number is 1. Okay, right now we have index number as 1. Now let's start choose formula again. So select the cell where we have our index number, right? See, index number is the one which we want Microsoft Excel to keep eye on. Okay, so this is the cell where we want Microsoft Excel to pay its complete attention. Okay, why? I will tell you right now. Then we have value 1, value 2, value 3, etc. So what is value 1? See, let's say we say have, comma, value 2, have a good day, bracket close. See, these are the 4 different values. Each value have one number. Like if we type 1, the output would be have. If we type 2, output would be a, and so on. Hit enter. You can see we have got the output as have. Why? Because index number is 1. But when we change index number to 2, you can get a. Then 3, good, and then 4 we have day, like this. So this is the index number. Okay, this is the cell where we want Microsoft Excel to pay its attention, because when we change this, the data will change automatically based on the values we have provided. So we are going to see how we can put the values from this table so that we can make it easier for us. Now let's prepare our data for the dynamic part. First, let me just delete these things, and now let me fill some background color here. Done. Okay, so let's prepare our data. So first of all, we need our products to be here. So just Control C for copy, and right click here and click on paste value. Okay, why value? Because it has removed the background color and have pasted only the data which we are looking for. Okay, no nonsense here, just simple data, right? So first task is done. Just copy it and paste values here. Now we have to create our choose column. Choose column is our dynamic column. Okay, we create this by using the choose formula. Before, let's create index value. So index number, let's say index number is 1. Okay, so here we have to type the formula. So choose index number and then values. Okay, so sales, comma, expenses, comma, profit, bracket close, hit enter and done. Here we are able to see sales. Why? Because index number is 1. When it changes to 2, you can see expenses, 3, profit. Okay, now let's add these values here. Okay, so if I drag this, so we have got the value error here. Why? See, the formula, you can see here in formula bar, the formula is same. Okay, it means when we shift one row down, this index value will also be shifted one row down, and here below there is nothing, no number. We are unable to see any value here, okay, other than error. So to improve this, we have to go here, and here in between n and 4 we have to add a dollar sign by using shift plus 4. Okay, so a dollar sign, right? So first let me delete this, and now when I drag this down, you can see these values instead of error. Okay, why? Because if you look at the formula, by using dollar sign, we have made this cell constant for each one. Okay, so if I change this to 2, you are able to see all the expenses. When we change it to 3, we are able to see all the profits here, right? Easiest way of creating the dynamic data using the choose formula, and you can represent this in the chart as well. So whenever you change the value here at the background, the value changes at this point, but only you know that this is the original data. Okay, because management will able to see only the chart, okay, and not this data. Now let's create the chart using this dynamic data. Okay, for that you have to select all the data, go to insert, go to charts, and you can select this column chart. Okay, let's say this one. Okay, now you can put this chart above the data so that only you know that this chart is working based on the background data and no one else. So whenever you change index number here, your complete chart will be changed. So here we have sales, then here we have expenses, and now we have profit. So by just changing numbers here, you will able to change complete chart. Okay, and it looks actually it look like a professional presentation. Okay, so this is the best way to present the data to the management, and whenever they ask something, just simply change the number here and they will able to see the output in the format of this chart, right? But only you know that this chart is working based on this data, right? So you have learned a lot of things, okay, a lot of formulas like for proper trim, then combination of proper trim, upper, lower, index, match, okay, sum ifs, average ifs, count ifs, work day, network days, choose, etc. Right? So even many professionals doesn't know about this dynamic data, right? Or index and match formula. So these are the things which you are only learning for the first time in this course. I'm not saying that no other course is teaching these things, but if you join this course, at least if you are a fresher, you will having a good knowledge of Excel, right from how to open a file, how to save a file, to the advanced level like how to create this dynamic chart, how to use index and match formula, how to use proper and trim formula, right? Like this. So you are able to learn a lot of formulas here in this course.
So let's start with what is Excel and why you actually need it. So let me explain this with an example. Suppose you are working for an MNC where hundreds or maybe thousands of other employees are also working. Now you are the HR and you are responsible to handle the data. Now, how would you do that? There are a lot of data like employee name, their salary details, the date of joining, the department they are working in, the project they are working on, what shifts they work in, etc. So how would you do that? The one way is to just pick a pen and a paper and start drawing lines and then entering the data. But that doesn't work anymore. Now we are in the era of computers. So the other way is to use Notepad just to create a simple text files to store the complete data. But using Notepad is not an easy task because you have to manage thousands of employee data, right? So suppose your manager came and asked you for employee details of a particular department or maybe more than one employee details from different departments, right? So it is a complex task and it is also a time consuming process to search for the employee details in hundreds of sheets, right? So it is not an easy task. So what we do, here comes the Excel, right? Because Excel provides you spreadsheets. Okay, so raw and columns are built in and they provide you each cell to store different data, right? So it makes your job very much easier. Now, what is Excel used for? Excel not only used to store data but also to manage data, analyze data, retrieve data as and when required. It also helps you to perform many mathematical operations which are built in. Actually, Excel is an ocean, right? So if you ask me what are the advantages of using Excel or what are the main functions of Excel, so my answer would be to store data in an easier way, to analyze data, to calculate data, to perform various mathematical and statistical calculations. Excel also helps us in charts and graphs, and you can use those charts and graphs in your PowerPoint presentation as well, right? And there are so many other things which we will learn in the coming lectures. In this lesson, we will talk about how to launch Excel, how to enter basic data, and how to save the data and close the Excel. So let's see how to launch Excel. To launch Excel, simply press Window key and type Excel. Hit enter and here we go. Simply click on blank workbook. Now, if you are using Excel 2016, then Excel will by default provide you 3 different sheets. You can see here at the bottom. Now in the 2019 version, which is all up to date, you will able to see only one sheet, but that doesn't make any difference. If you need more sheets, you can add them by simply clicking here. Okay. So what are these sheets? So suppose these sheets are the pages of your notebook, okay, your physical notebook. As your physical notebook has multiple pages, Excel provide you different spreadsheets for different work. Okay, so these spreadsheets and all this data you are able to see on your screen are collectively called as a workbook. And by default, whenever you launch a new workbook, Excel give it a name as book 1. Okay, here you can see at the top. By default, Excel give it a name book 1. We can change this. Now let's see how to enter data. Simply click on the cell where you want to type data and start typing. So let's say employee ID, okay, and here employee names, okay. So you are the HR, so let's store the data. So employee ID would be 0001 and the name would be John, okay. Now suppose your company has only one employee, okay. So let's save the data. To save the data, simply go to file, okay, and here click on save as. Now here you will see two options. First is save and second is save as, okay. We will see both of them, but first click on save as. Now browse the folder where you want to save the workbook. Suppose I want to save it on desktop, so let's give it a name like employee sheet 1. Hit enter and that's all. Now here at the top you can see the name has changed from book 1 to employee sheet 1, right? Now suppose one more employee has joined your company, so let's give him a employee ID which is 2, okay. Remember here by default if you type 00 and then you type the number, Excel will automatically remove all the zeros, okay. We will also see it in coming lectures, but for now let's type the new employee name. So the new employee name would be Ram, okay. So now our company has 2 different employees. Now let's see how we can save this data, okay. So go to file and click on save, okay. So you can use this save function whenever you open an existing worksheet and then you made some changes, like you add data or remove data, it doesn't matter, okay. So whenever you make any changes to the existing worksheet, you always have to save that data, okay, because if you doesn't save it and close the file, the data will be lost, okay. Now either you can go to file and click on save button, or simply you can type Ctrl S, which is a shortcut for save option, okay. So you have learned how to launch Excel, what are sheets, how to save the file, right? Now let's see how to close it. Simply click here and the file will close. In this lesson we will talk about Excel customization. Now as you can see on your screen that there are so many different tabs, okay, and I am not sure which tab does what, okay. So in this case we will use the option of customization, okay, in order to create some shortcuts. So for this go to file and here at the end you will see options, okay. Now there are so many different functions of Excel you can customize here, but for now we will move towards quick access toolbar, okay, and click on show quick access toolbar. Simply click OK, and now you can see we have some of the shortcuts available here, okay. So these shortcuts will make our job easier. Now what if I want to add some more options here, okay, or I want to remove any of the shortcut which I don't need? So again go to file and then options, quick access toolbar, and select the option you want to add, okay. Suppose I want the option of save and save as, okay. So click on save as and click on add, right? And suppose I don't want the redo option, so select this and click on remove. Now click on OK. See, now we have save as, okay. For save as you can also use F12, which is a shortcut for save as, right? So in this way you can customize shortcuts as per your needs. In this lesson we will talk about the important terms in a sheet, okay. So as you can see on your screen, here is the sheet 1. Now here are the ribbons, and below here you will find the formula bar, and at the bottom you can see the status bar, okay, here. And there are other options like normal view, page layout, and page break preview. And here is the zoom in and zoom out scale, right? Now let's talk about columns. So this is column A, this is column B, this is column C, and so on. Now how do I know that this is a column? So anything represented vertically is called as column, and anything represented horizontally is called as row. So this is row 1, row 2, row 3, and so on. Now let's talk about cell. What is cell? So this is a cell. Cell is nothing but a reference name for row and column. Okay. So the name of or the reference name of this cell is C5, right? You can see the same in the name box. So this is the reference name for this cell. Okay. Now you have to guess the name of this cell. So name box says it is F8. So cell is nothing but an interface for row and column. Okay. So the name of this cell is F8 and the name of this cell is G4, right? Now in the next lecture we will talk about formula bar. In this lesson we will talk about formula bar and status bar. So what is a formula bar? So formula bar showcases the content of a cell, or we can use formula bar in order to insert our formula, right? Now there are so many things in formula bar, we will see them in the coming lectures, but just for reference, if you click on insert function, you can see here it is represented by a equal sign, right? So let's cancel this. And now let's move toward the status bar. Here you can see it says it is in ready mode. So in status bar, Excel shows you the current status in a spreadsheet. So now it says Excel is ready. And if I type something like 1, 2, 3, you can see the status is changed to enter, which means you are entering the data. You are in enter mode. Okay. Or if you go to the existing data and if you type something, okay, so you are in enter mode, hit enter, again go to the same bar and just double click, and now you see the difference. It says you are in edit mode, which means you are editing the existing data, right? Now you might be thinking that what's the use of status bar? Well, you will understand the significance of a status bar when you are performing multiple functions and using different spreadsheets at the same time. In that case, it would help you by telling you that whether you are in ready mode or you are in edit mode or you are entering the data or you are calculating a data, right? For example, if there is a number 2 and again number 2, and now if I want to add these two numbers, okay, if I want to add the values of these two different cells, then I will use is equal to and then the name of the cell, which is D4 and D5. So D4 plus D5, okay, or I can simply click here and select these two. Okay, both will do the same work, right? So press is equal to and then select both of them. But see here at the status bar, it says you are pointing towards some cell, right? So the status changed to point mode, right? So these are the different modes in Excel. Now here you will see this bar. Okay, so this is the zoom in and zoom out scale, right? First of all, let's add them and delete them. Okay, select the data and let's delete them. That's all. Now let's see how you can zoom in or zoom out. By default, you will able to see the 100% of a spreadsheet. You can change it as you want, okay, as per your need. But for now, let it to 100%. Now let's talk about tabs. What are tabs? So this is the home tab, this is insert tab, then page layout, formulas, data tab, review tab, and so on. Now the tabs are also called as ribbons. Now what the ribbons actually do? Okay, so they put all of the options related to a particular thing together. Okay, so these are the options related with font put together. So these are the job of ribbons. So if you want to make any changes to the font, you have to come to home tab and then change them. So this is the style of the font. You can increase or decrease the size of fonts, then bold, italic, underline, and color. Okay, now if you need more options, click here and you will able to see all of the options related to font, right? Now from here you can change the alignment, then numbers, then styles, then cells, and then editing. Now don't worry about this, we will see them in the coming lectures, but for now let's move to insert tab. As the name suggests, if you want to insert anything like table, pictures, shapes, smart art, or any other thing, you have to visit insert tab. Okay, and from there you can insert anything which you want. Now in the page layout, as the name suggests, you can change the layout of any page, like you can break the page in 2 parts or maybe even more parts, right? Or you can adjust the height or width or scale of this spreadsheet, right? Now the next is formulas. As you know, Excel contains a lot of formulas like logical formulas, mathematical operations, arithmetic operations, etc. And you can see most of them are built in Excel, right? So you can use them from here. Okay, now comes the data. So you can manage your data from here, like you can change them, you can sort them, you can filter the data, right? And there are so many other options which you will see in the coming lectures. Now let's go to review. Here you can check the spelling, you can check your workbook statistics. Okay, you can also protect your data by using the option protect sheet. Okay, and you can also share your workbook from here. Now again comes the view. You can zoom in, zoom out. Okay, then heading, formula bar, grid lines, which you want to see, which you don't, right? If you want to see formula bar, check this. If you want to see headings, check this. If you want to view grid lines, check this, right? So this way you can perform the different functions by going to the particular tab. Now if there is any option which you use frequently, you can add it in your customization bar. Okay, so this is the customizable bar which we have added. Remember, going to the file and then options. So you can add all of the options which you need frequently, right? Which also saves your time. So you can add the shortcuts here. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. In this lesson, we will talk about navigation in Excel. So as you all know, there are 4 basic keys on your keyboard which you can use for navigation, which is up arrow key, down arrow key, left arrow key, and right arrow key. So let's see how we can use the same in Excel, and we will also see some of the tips and tricks for navigation in Excel. So let's launch the Excel first. Hit window key and type Excel, hit enter, and here we go. So open blank workbook. Now notice at the top here, by default Excel give it a name book 1, and in Excel 2019 and maybe in some versions of Excel 2016, by default you will see only 1 sheet. But before that, if you talk about earlier versions like Excel 2013, then they will provide 3 sheets there, right? So now let's see how we can navigate in Excel. So if you want to go down, simply press down arrow key from your keyboard, right? In the same way, if you want to go to the top, keep pressing up arrow key until you reaches your destination, which is cell A1, right? Now if you want to navigate to the right, keep pressing right arrow key. and for the left keep pressing left arrow key, right? So it's very simple. But now let's see how we can make a shortcut, like how we can use the same arrow keys using Control and Shift, which perform different tasks. Okay, for example, if you want to go to this cell which is AM1, right? Although it's an easy task, but it is a time consuming process if we use arrow keys for the same. So let's see how we can use the shortcut in Excel. But first of all, let's create a database. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's select them. Let me select all of them and drag it down. Okay, leave it. In the same way, drag it to the right side. And here we go. So this is our sample database. Okay. Now, suppose you want to navigate to R3 cell. Okay, let me highlight this. Okay, so the first way is to use your right arrow key until you reaches your destination. Okay, or the other way is to use shortcut, which is use Control and then use right arrow key. In this way you will reach to the very first cell of your database. Okay, but when you press Control right arrow key again, you will reach your destination, which is the last cell, which is the last cell of this database, okay, of this row. So if you want to go back to D3 again, simply press Control and left arrow key, right? But what if you want to navigate to L3? Now this is not possible using Control and arrow keys. In this case you have to move to your destination using arrow keys. Okay, there is no shortcut for this for now. Okay, now let's see how you can select the complete first column. The first way is to use your mouse. Okay, click and drag your mouse all the way to the down. Okay, and the other way is to use shortcut keys, which is Control, Shift and down arrow key. Understood? Now in the same way, if you want to select the other columns, then type Control, Shift and right arrow key. Okay, only one time. I hope you all have understood this. Okay, let me try this once again for you. Keep pressing Control Shift. Do not leave any of the key. Okay, and then press down key. It has selected the first column, and if you want to select the complete database, simply press right arrow key. Okay, along with Control and Shift. So this is the basic navigation, or should I say tips and tricks for navigation in Excel 2019. Now practice this by creating a sample database on your own by entering your name, your family name, your friend's name and the movies you watch, at what time, etc. So create a sample database and then try these shortcuts. Excel has a lot of shortcuts. So let's see one more. Now we will use Alt key. So let's see what happens when I press Alt key. See, some characters and numbers highlighted. Now, what's the use of this? It has created a shortcut for us for each different tab. For example, if I want to navigate to the Home tab without using my cursor, then I will press H key. Okay, now you can see we are under Home tab and all of the functions or features of Home tab are again highlighted with many characters and numbers. So suppose if I press H key again, you will see some more options along with the shortcuts, right? So now it makes our job easier, and if you don't want to use keyboard and mouse at the same time, you can go for Alt key shortcuts, right? Now it seems difficult at the starting, but once you practice this again and again, then later in some time your mind get used to it and your mind will start remembering these shortcuts, right? At that time you no need to see the shortcuts. Okay, so for example, if I press some keys on my keyboard, it will ask me to close the workbook, right? Now you have seen that I have not used my cursor. Okay, at this point of time you have seen my cursor is stable, right? So how would I manage to do this, right? So I have pressed Alt key, then I pressed F key in order to go to the File tab. Okay, earlier in the Excel 2016 or Excel 2013, we will see window key here, okay, window sign here instead of File tab, but the function is same. So I have pressed Alt key and then I pressed F, and to close I have used C, which is here, okay, which is a shortcut to close, right? So I have pressed Alt F C, okay. Now try this. Now in this video we will talk about basic formulas in Excel. So basic formulas like addition, subtraction, division and multiplication. So let's start with addition first. So let's quickly enter some of the data. So here would be employee name and then the salary. Okay. So John, Harry, Jason, Richard and Rahul. So salary would be 10,000, 20,000, again 10, 15 and then 25. Okay. So now for some reason I have to add the salary of two employees, let's say John and Jason. Okay. So in Excel, whenever you want to use any formula, simply start with equal to sign. Okay. So is equal to, and then the reference cells, which is John. Okay. You can see it has selected it automatically as soon as we pointed towards this cell. And here in the status bar you can see point, which means we are in point mode. That stands for we are using formula in Excel. Okay, then use the correct operator, which is plus sign, and then select the another cell. Okay, simply hit enter. See, so this is how the basic addition function works in Excel. Now there is other way for performing the same function. We will see that in the next lecture, but for now let's perform one more addition. So again is equal to, select the cells. Suppose we want to calculate the salary of first 3 employees. Okay, so B2 plus B3 plus B4, hit enter, right? So this is how you can perform addition in Excel. In the previous video, we have added the salary of John and Jason and we have got this result. Okay, now let's see how we can perform this without the help of a teacher. So suppose you are new to Excel and you don't know how to add two numbers, right? So let's click on the new cell. Now Excel has its own inbuilt functions, right? Now if you want to ask for help to Excel, simply press F1, or you could go to insert functions. Okay, here you see all the functions, all the operators inbuilt in Excel. Okay, so it says most recently used functions are these. Now Excel is asking you what you want me to do, because Excel itself doesn't perform any function. So you have to give instructions to Excel and then it will do the job for you. So let's type here add numbers. Click on go, and here you see 3 different functions, right? So let's try this one, which says I am sum. Now as soon as you click on the function, it says this function returns the sum of complex numbers. Now let's see how we can use this function. Simply click OK, right? Here you see on the cell that the function has activated. Now it's asking for I am number 1. So I number 1 would be, simply click here and select the cell. So this is our first cell. Okay, click again. Now go to second I am number. select the cell, click again. Right? Here you see the result which says is equal to 20,000. Click OK and you can see both results are same. Right? So this way Excel help you out to perform different functions without the help of a teacher. Let's open our previous file. So go to file and click on open, or you can also see on here recent. So here is my file, so I will going to open this from here. Okay, now in the previous video we have used addition. We have seen how we can add the salary of two different employees. Now in this video we will going to use subtraction. We will see how we can find the difference between the salary of two different employees. Okay, so now in this case we will going to use the salary of Rahul and the salary of Richard. Okay, so the question is, how do you find the difference between the salary of Rahul and Richard? So let's see. Let's use the formula is equal to. Now in your school you have learned about BODMAS rule. Okay, so we will going to follow the same. So we will select the bigger number first, because if you put smaller number at first place and bigger one at the second, the answer would be negative, right? So we will select the bigger number and then we will use the minus operator and then select the second one. Hit enter and here is the answer. Now let's see how we can do the same thing other way. So let's go to insert functions. Okay, just type here difference of two numbers. Click on go and Excel will tell you that you may use these three formulas. So we will go with the first one which says I am sub. Click OK. Again select the cell and then select the second one. Click on OK and here we go. Okay, so you have seen how we can find the difference between the salary of two different employees by using the method of subtraction. Okay, suppose now you want to calculate the salary of all the employees. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. So now we will going to use three different ways to find the sum of salaries of all the employees. So the first way is that we have learned in the previous videos. So select the cell, use the operator, again select the cell, use the operator, then third cell, then fourth and then last. Okay, and hit enter. So here is the total of salaries. Okay, now let's see the other way. The other way is to use the AutoSum function, which you will find here in the editing. Okay, so here is the AutoSum function. Okay, it says it automatically add up. So click here. Right, now it's asking that whether this cell you want to calculate. No, so let's drag the point to, let's go here first and let's drag it here in the salary column. Okay, now select all the cells which you want to calculate. Now here you see that AutoSum functions only taken care of the entry and exit point. So which is B2 is the entry point, which is the first cell, and the last cell is B6. Okay, so it will going to calculate from cell number B2 to all the way up to B6. Right, hit enter and you will find your answer, and you can see both the answers are same, which means the answer is correct. Now the third method is to use is equal to sum. So whenever you type any inbuilt function of Excel, Excel will show you here at below like this. Okay, so this is the correct format. Right, now you have two options here. Either you can select the cell and then comma and then second cell and then comma and then third cell, or what you could do is you can simply select all the cells like this. Okay, let me remove this one. let's close it and hit enter. Right? I hope you understand all the three methods. So we have used AutoSum, but here we have manually typed the formula. Okay, so that's the basic difference between the two. So you have learned addition and subtraction. Now in this video we will talk about division. So suppose now we want to calculate the average salary of these three employees. Okay, first three employees. So how would you do that? Is equal to, again select the cells, add them, okay, and then divide them by 3. Simple. But no, it would not going to give us the correct answer. Okay, so let's follow the BODMAS rule. Okay, so let me delete this, and again is equal to, then cell 1 plus the salary of second employee and then the salary of third employee, close the bracket, and now divide it by 3, hit enter, and now you will get the correct answer. Okay, now let's see how we can do this using the insert function. Type average, click on go, and now we have got the average formula. Click OK. Now select the cells. So the first cell is B2, and now this second number, which is this one, and now the third number. Okay, see, the number is increasing continuously. Okay, now click on OK, and here is our answer. Okay, so both the answers are same, which means these are correct. Now let's see how we can increase or decrease the decimal points. Okay, so if you want to increase the decimal points, click here, increase decimal. Okay, and you can see the decimal is increasing. Or if you want to decrease it, simply use the option called decrease decimal under numbers. Okay, now in the next video we will see how a function called autofill actually works. In this video we will going to talk about two different functions. The first one is multiplication and the other is autofill. So let's see multiplication first. So suppose there are two numbers, okay, and now we want to multiply it. So again is equal to, select the first cell and then use the correct operator and then select the second one, hit enter, and here is our answer. Now the other way is to use insert functions. Okay, simply type multiply. Okay, click on go, again select the first option, click OK, select the two cells. So here is the first one, and now here is the second cell. Okay, click on OK, and here is our answer. Right? So I hope now you have learned about addition, subtraction, division and multiplication. Now let's talk about autofill. Remember, Excel is a little bit intelligent. It recognizes some of the formats. So let's type 1, then 2, then 3. Okay. Now you have seen that Excel understands that we are trying to write the number in correct sequence. So let's drag it down. This handler is called autofill handler. So let's drag it down. See? Okay. So autofill is nothing but it will help you to save your time. Okay. In the same way, if we are typing months, so Jan, Feb, March. Okay, so let's do the same. First select the three of them and then drag it. Okay, now Excel also understands the difference between odd and even numbers. So let's try them. Select it and drag it down. Okay, now let's try the other. Again select the three, drag it down. I hope you understand. It would definitely save you a lot of time. In this video, we will talk about a feature called find and replace, and in the next video, we will see something called advanced find and replace. So let's see how it actually works. So here you can see I have a small database. Okay, so suppose for some reason I want to change the department of all the employees from accounts to IT. Okay, so the first way is I search for the account departments and then I manually replace it. Okay, but what if you have a big database, something like employee with more than 10,000 or maybe 20,000 employees? Okay, at that point it is difficult for you to do it manually, right? So now here comes the picture of find and replace. So let's see how it actually works. Either you can use find and replace function from editing section, or you can simply use the shortcut which is Control F. Okay, so here is the wizard for find and replace. So there are two functions, find and replace. Let's see one by one. So it's asking you that find what. Okay, so what would you like to find? So we want to find account. Okay, now here you have two options. The first one is find all and the second one is find next. Now find next will find accounts department one by one. Okay, and find all will show you all the cells with account department. Okay, with cell reference, right? Here you can see the list, right? Okay, so let's open it again. Control F, account, and now let's go to replace. Now it's asking me that you want to replace account with, so let's type it IT. Okay, so we want to replace the account department with IT department. Now if you want to replace only single cell, click on replace, or if you want to replace all the accounts with all the IT, simply click on replace all. Okay, it says we made 6 replacements. Click OK, and here you can see. Okay, so there is no account department here, right? Now in the next video we will talk about advanced find and replace. In this video we will talk about something called advanced find and replace. So again, let's open Control F. Let me clear this. Okay, now here you see options. I hope all these options are self-explanatory, right? If you want to search within a sheet, then you can use this option. Okay, within a sheet or within a workbook, right? And if you want to search by rows or by columns, and if you want to look into formulas, right? And here are two more options. The first one is match case. Match case stands for capital letters or lowercase, and then match entire cell content. Okay, now this option is a little bit different. Let me show you how. Suppose there are two departments. The first one is OT and the other one is OT and then accounts, right? So when we select this option and when we want to replace OT with something called IT, then it would automatically replace the other one as well, because it has found OT common in both the cells. Okay, right? Now let's close this. Let me delete this one. Okay, so suppose I have highlighted these two things. Okay, so let's fill the colors in IT. Okay, again IT. Okay, now let's see how advanced find and replace works. So Control F, let's go to options. Okay, now this time we have selected a format, right? So click on format. Now it's asking what kind of format you want to use. Okay, so I want to choose format from cell. Okay, so find this kind of cells, okay, with this format, right? And now it's asking what do you want me to do. So go to replace, and we want to replace this kind of format with this one. So let's select other. So let's go to fill and let's select the red one. Click OK and click on replace all. See, it has changed the format of the cell, right? So this way you can use the advanced find and replace functions. Okay. Now suppose the John is the person who have recently resigned from this position. Okay, so we want to highlight it into red. So just select it. Either you can fill it the color from here, or you can use the replace function. Okay, but you will only use find and replace when you want to replace something which has previously. Okay, so let me give an example. Suppose John has joined the company and we have filled the color green, which means this one or this employee is active. Okay, so John is actively working in an organization, but for some reasons John has resigned from the company and we want to change the color from green to red. Now in this case we can use the replace function. Okay, now if you want to change the color for a single person, you can use the option something called fill colors, or if there are multiple employees, as we have seen here in these two cases of Jason and Tom, we can use find and replace, right, to make our work easy. Hey guys, now it's time for the assignment. So here is your assignment number 1. Okay, so let's see what it is. So in the first column you will get the serial number, which is 1 2 3 4 5. In the second one you will get the product names, which is iPhone 11, 12, 12 Pro and MacBooks, right? Now here in the third column you will get cost per item. Okay, so the cost is in dollars, US dollars. Okay, but we don't focus on the currency because what we want is the numbers. Okay, if we get the exact numbers, the answer would be correct. Now here is the shipping cost. Okay, shipping cost per item. Then comes your price. So price is nothing but the total of cost and shipping. Okay, so in order to get the price you have to add cost plus shipping, right? Then comes the quantity. So here are the quantities of these items. Now comes the total. So to get the total you have to multiply price by quantity and you will get your total. Okay, so when you multiply the price of each item with their quantity, you will get the exact total. Okay, then comes the subtotal. So subtotal is nothing but the total of all these fields. Okay, so whatever number you get here in these 5, you can add them to get your subtotal. Okay, then comes the tax, which is at 5%. So we assume that the current tax rate is 5%. So to get the tax you have to multiply 5% with your subtotal, and then comes the grand total. So when you add your subtotal with tax amount, you will get your grand total. At last you have to find out how much money you have left with. So I have given you the total money, which is $15,000. Okay, so whatever number come here in the grand total, you have to subtract this number from $15,000 and you will get the money left. Okay, so guys, before watching the next video, please solve this assignment by yourself, because in the next lesson I am giving you the solution for this assignment. Okay, I hope each and every one of you have solved the assignment. Now it's time to check your answers. So let's see how you can find the exact price of the item. So again is equal to, select the cell plus operator and select the other cell, hit enter and you will get your answer. Okay, now again repeat the same thing, plus operator and the second cell, hit enter. Now Excel has recognized this pattern. Okay, so there is no need to type the same formula again and again in each field. Okay, instead you can select this and then you can use autofill handler. Okay, see, it worked, right? So autofill handler will definitely save you a lot of time. Now let's see about the total. So again is equal to reference cell multiply by quantity, hit enter and you will get your answer. Again, use the autofill handler and see the answers. Okay. Now, let's see how you can find your subtotal. Again, we can use the formula is equal to sum bracket, select the numbers, bracket close, hit enter. Okay. Now, in order to find subtotal, you can also use AutoSum feature, right? It all depends on you. Now, let's find out the tax is equal to 5% of subtotal, which is G7. Hit enter and you will have your answer, right? Now let's find out the grand total. Again, you can use the simple method. Hit enter. So here is our grand total. Now at last we have to find out how much money we have left with. So select the cell. First of all, start with is equal to, then select the cell which is your total money, and then use the subtraction which is minus operator, and then your grand total. Hit enter and here is your answer. Okay. In this video, we will talk about data formatting. So let's see how we can format the data in Excel. So by default, Excel considered all the data as numbers. So whenever you copy something from external sources and you paste it in spreadsheets, Excel will consider them as numbers only. Okay, so it will show yellow marks, and which makes it difficult to read your data. Okay. So the two most commonly used data types in Excel are text and numbers. So let me type some text, which is John, and some numbers like 1 2 3 4 5. Okay. So first of all, let me show you the default formatting of a cell. Okay. So right click and go to format cells. Okay. So here are the different categories available in Excel. Okay. But for now, you can see by default a blank cell will considered as a general category. Okay, which means these cells have no specific number format. Click on OK. Now let's move towards the text. Okay, again check its type. So it says again general. Okay, now for numbers you will also see general. Now let's see what happens when we change its formatting. So these are numbers, but let's select the category to text. Okay, nothing much changed. Now let's do the same for the text formatting, and let's change its category to number. Okay, now it doesn't make any difference here, but when you are using some formulas, then it will show you the exact difference. Okay, let me show you what I mean by that. Suppose you want to use a date here. Okay, now let's check the format of this cell. See, it has automatically detected that the number you have typed is actually a date format. Okay, and this is the default format for a date. Okay, but now I want to change this to custom, and I want to convert this to, let's say, day and month. Click OK and you will see 1st of Jan. Okay, so it has shown me the date and month only. Now let's change the format again and let's see what happens. Let's include the time as well. Okay, or we could go for this format which says date, month and year. Okay, so this is again our default format. So you can change the cell format actually. Okay, now as a beginner, don't worry about this. my main aim is to just show you that you can change the format of a cell as per the need. Okay, so when you are typing numbers, you could select numbers, right? But this will only useful when you are using formulas, because if you are using a formula and the default formatting of a cell is set to a text, then your formula would probably throw up the data, right? So that's why it is necessary to learn about data formatting. In this video, I will show you what actually happens when you copy some data from an external source and paste it into your Excel sheet. Okay, so external source would be anything like your social networking sites or from any PDF. So here I have a sample data. I have created a file in Notepad. So this file in Notepad is your sample data, okay, which is from an external source. So let me copy this. So Control A and Control C. And let's paste it into spreadsheet. Okay, done. Now you might able to see all this data, okay, in a single row, and probably you think that these are in the different columns, okay, but this data might be deceiving because all these names are in a single cell and not into different columns. Okay, what I mean by that? So here is your cell number G1. Okay, so you can see a name here, but this data is not inside G1, right? And not it is into H1. Okay, it is in a single column which is called as A1. Okay, and how do I know that? See, when you click on F1, you will see your formula bar to be empty. Your formula bar will always show you the content of a cell. So as soon as I move towards cell A1, you will see that your formula bar shows the content of cell A1. Okay, see, so the complete data is in a single cell called A1, right? So how to separate the data? Right? How to sort this data into different columns? Well, we have an option, but first of all, let me select the cell where all the data is, and then let's move to data column. Okay, and in data tab, we have an option of text to columns under data tools. Okay, so select text to columns. Here we have to follow a 3-step. Okay, so step 1 is fixed width and delimited. Now I will teach you both of these things in the coming lectures, but for now let's select delimited. Okay, which says characters such as commas, tabs separate each field. Click on next. Here it's asking you, okay, Excel is asking you that how you want to set your delimiters, okay, which means how you want your data to be differentiated. What is the common sign between the complete data? So if you see carefully in our data, we have a common thing called comma. Okay, so I have used a comma to separate two different names, right? So let's uncheck this and let's select comma. See, whenever we have used comma, it has replaced it with a line which divides the two names into different columns. Okay, so all our names are now categorized into different columns, right? Again, click next, leave all things as it is and click on finish, because it's asking you for the column data format. So we leave it to general. Click on finish and you will now see that the different names are in different columns. See, now E1 has its own data, G1 has its own data, correct? So this way you can make your job much easier, right? Now in the next video I will teach you how we can sort this data more in order to make it easily readable, right? So suppose we have to send an invitation to all of these people, right? So instead of typing each and every name along with the message and with email ID, we can convert this data into email ID, right? We will see how to do that in the next lecture. Now we will see how we can make this data more easier to read. Okay, so let me convert the data from columns into different rows. First of all, let me select the data by using Ctrl Shift and right arrow key, which will select the complete data of a row. Then Ctrl C for copy, and now let me paste it here. Okay, so we have two options to paste it. The first one is paste options and the other is paste special. So we will select the second one. Here you can see many more options like formulas, values, formats, comments, etc. But we will going to use transpose, okay, which is actually going to transpose data from columns to rows. See, now our data is more easier to read, right? Now here you notice one more thing, that from second onwards, okay, you will see a space before starting of a name, right? Now this space comes from your notepad file, because I have differentiated names and I have given a space after comma. Okay, so now let's see how we can remove this space. Okay, the first way and the easier way is to go here and select delete. Okay, but what happens when the data is in thousands? Okay, suppose the names are more than 2000s. Okay, at that time it is not possible to go to each name and then remove the space. So in Excel we have one more option called as trim. Okay, so let's see how we can use the trim formula. Again is equal to trim, bracket open, select the cell or select the text and then bracket close, hit enter, right? Now let's do the same thing for this cell. Is equal to trim, select the cell, enter. Okay, now instead of typing trim again and again, we can use autofill handler. Okay, because now Excel has recognized the pattern. So let me select all these and you can see we have new names without the space. Okay, now I know that it doesn't make any difference for the original cells, okay, but it would do the job. Now let's explore some more options. Let's see how different text function actually works. So suppose now I want to convert all these names to the uppercase, okay, and I don't remember the formula. So that way, go to insert functions and simply type change to uppercase. Okay, click on go. Okay, it's not getting my point, so let me again type capital letters. Okay, so it's giving me an option called proper. Okay, what it actually does is it converts a text string to proper case, which is the first letter in each word is to be uppercase and all other letters are in lowercase. No, but I need something else, so I will type change to capital letters. Now let me type uppercase. Okay, so we have got the formula. We can use uppercase in order to convert a text string to all uppercase letters. And now let's search for lowercase. And you will see the lower option, which will convert all letters in a text string to lowercase. Okay, but you may see proper, which is common in both, because it will provide you a capper which also uses a function of uppercase and lowercase, right? Let me cancel this. Now let's type the formula here, upper, and then select the cell, hit enter. Okay, so it has converted the name into uppercase. Okay, so all letters are now in uppercase. Again, use the autofill handler. Done. Okay. Now let's try to convert all these into lowercase. Again we will use the formula lower, and then in brackets we will select the cell, bracket close, enter. Use the autofill handler and drag it down. Done. Now let's see the third one, which is proper. Okay, so let's use proper. Again use the autofill handler. It would save you a lot of time. Done. Okay, so you have learned how to convert a data which is in different columns into rows, okay, to make it easier to read, and then how to convert them into uppercase, lowercase and proper case. Okay, and we have also learned how to use a trim function, right? Suppose I want to extract only the first letter from the left of each name. Okay, so how would I do that? The first way is to type it manually, like A and then S and then again A and then K. Okay, but it's not an easy task. Okay, so is there any function in Excel which would help me to do this? Yes, there it is, which is called as a left. Okay, now whatever we are learning in this lesson or in the previous 3-4 lessons are all a part of text functions. Okay, so left, bracket open, select the reference cell, then mention the number of characters which you want to extract, hit enter, and here we go. Okay, so now let's try it again. Now this time I want to extract 4 letters, hit enter. Okay, now let's use the autofill handler. Now you might be thinking that why there is a need to extract only the first letter from the left. Well, the reasons might be different. Okay, but for example, suppose you are creating login names, okay, for all of these users. In that case you may use a.sharma, okay, as a login user ID, right? So the cases might be different. My aim is to show you the different functions of Excel and how you can actually use them. So now suppose you want to extract a letter from the right. For that you may use the right function. Okay, again give the number of letters you want to extract. Then we can use autofill handler, and here we go. Okay, so I hope you understand the left and right functions. Now you might be thinking whether it is possible to extract something from the middle of a name. Well, it is possible, but I will tell you in the coming lectures. But for now, it's your task to find it out whether is there any function. If yes, you may search for insert functions, or you could go to Google and ask it, right? In the previous 3-4 videos, we have learned a lot of things about text functions, but still we are unable to achieve our final goal. So what is our end goal? Our end goal is to convert these names into email IDs. So the name is Anurag Sharma and the email ID would be anurag.sharma@gmail.com, right? So how would we do that? The first option is we can use Ctrl F and then we can search for a space in between the names, and then we can remove with dot, and then we have to add @gmail.com. And the other way is to use an option called concatenate. Okay, so it's an inbuilt function in Excel. So we would go with the second option. So let's see how we can use that. First of all, let me remove all these things. Done. Now let's split the data first and then we will add it again. So to split the data, we will go to data and then again we will go to text to column function, right? We will using delimited Now this time we want to separate data using space instead of comma. Okay, because you can see that there is a space to differentiate between first name and last name, right? So let's click on next. Okay, and click on finish. But you will see nothing changed. Do you know why? Because remember in the one of our previous lecture I told you about a function called formatting, okay, cell formatting. So see here in the formula bar it says that the text you have selected is not a text, instead it's a formula, right? Let me select a cell, it says it's a formula and not a common text. So whenever your cell type is different, for example your cell type is a formula, okay, and you are planning to copy a text, it won't work, right? Okay, so let's see how to change this. First of all, let's copy the data and paste it in a new column, or you could paste it in the same column as well. Let's use the option called paste spatial. This time we want to change the format, so we will select values instead of formula. So this option will paste the same data, but it removes the formula with normal text, right? Okay, so I hope you understand. Now all these cells are converted to the text values. Now let's select the data again and now try to split the data. So next, next and finish. See, it worked, right? So whenever there is a formula inside a cell, the other formula won't work. Okay, so now let's see how we can add these two. So we are going to use a function called concatenate. Okay, so let's search for concatenate. Okay, or you can try something like add or adding text. Okay, let me try something else. Try okay, so let me try this one which says join several text. Okay, so we have a function called concatenate which actually joins two different strings into one. Click OK, and now it's asking to select a text 1. So text 1 would be this one, okay, and text 2 is dot, because we want to add a dot in between first name and last name. So let's select the third text which is Sharma, and now let me add the last text which is @gmail.com. okay, so whenever a text is not available you have to type it manually. Click OK, and here we go. See, we have got the email address, right? Now if you want to type it manually, you could do the same. So concatenate, here it is. Okay, we have to type it completely. So concatenate, open bracket, select the first name, comma. Now we don't have dot here, okay, so we can't select that. So we have to insert dot inside a quotes. Okay, so dot and then again comma, select the last name, then comma, then quotes, @ and then we have to add gmail.com inside quotes, right? Close the brackets, hit enter. See, it worked, right? So now let's apply the same formula for all these names. Done. So now we have achieved our final goal, which is to get the email IDs using the names. Okay, so now see, this is our first data, okay, which is a little bit messy, and this is our end goal, right? Okay, so we have learned a lot of things in text functions, okay, and whenever we try to split a data, we have used a function called text to columns, okay, and inside that we have used delimiter, okay. But what if we go with the fixed widths? Okay, but for now, first of all, we have to convert this data into normal text, because if you see at the formula bar, then the format of these cells are actually a formula and not the normal text. So let's copy the data, and now let me paste here using paste special, and let's convert it into values. Done. Okay, so now let's select the data, and let me go to text to columns and select fixed width. Click on next. Now here you can see this is the data preview. Okay, so now we have a choice of adding a separation line wherever we want, right? Suppose I have selected this. Okay, so here is, I want the data to be split under this line. Okay, it doesn't matter how many characters are dividing, but I simply want to add a line. Then click on next, click on finish. See, the data is splitted, right? So the first letter are in a single column and the rest of the characters are in the second one. Okay, let me increase the width. Done. Now there are some more things like a function called length. Okay, so suppose you want to calculate the total number of characters in a cell, then we will use a function called length. Okay, select the cell, bracket close, hit enter. Okay, so 23 is the total number of characters in this particular cell. Again, we can use auto handler if we want, right? Now there is one more function called count. So let's see how does it actually works. So let me enter some numbers here. Okay, and let's do the same thing for columns as well. Okay, so the count function basically counts the numbers, the total numbers in a row or a column, right? So is equal to count, select all the cells which you want to calculate and hit enter. So it says there are total 5 numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's correct, right? Now let's count the number of rows. Okay, sorry, the number in a columns. So is equal to count, again select and close the bracket, hit enter. So the answer would be 4 because 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? Now let's talk about relative reference. So what is relative reference? Relative reference is nothing but an address or pointer that changes when the target item is moved. For example, in a spreadsheet, a cell with a relative reference changes its formula when copied elsewhere. Okay, so let's understand with practical. So suppose there are two numbers, okay, and now we want to add them. Okay, so everyone knows the formula is equal to sum and then the reference cell, operator, next cell, hit enter. Okay, so we have got the answer, and now we know that the cell D6 will contain this formula, right? So now let's copy this and let me paste it elsewhere. So let's paste it here. Okay, Now you can see the answer is 0. Now why? As you know, this Excel doesn't perform any function itself. So you have to give instructions to Excel. Now here in cell D6, we have given some instructions. So we have instructed Excel to add these two cells. Okay. But what Excel actually understood is, Excel understands that we are asking Excel to calculate the cell above this and the other cell one step above this. Okay. So Excel understands that we want to calculate above two cells. Okay. So the cells above D6 are D5 and D4. But when we pasted the formula here, Excel understands that we are instructing Excel to add I4 and I5, as you can see in the formula bar. See? So this is called a relative reference. Okay. So now let me copy this formula again and let me paste it elsewhere. So let's try here. Okay, again 0, but you can see the formula changes, right? This time Excel understands that we want Excel to calculate the sum of O4 and O5. Okay. Now let's see what happens when you copy the same thing in a new spreadsheet. So let me open a new spreadsheet using Control N. Control N is the shortcut for a new spreadsheet. And let me paste the formula here on C3. Okay, and you can see the formula changes again. Okay, so it's not D6 and it's not O3, but it's actually C3, right? So I hope you understand about relative references. Now it's time for the assignment. So here you can see two different tables. So first we will going to solve the second one and then we will move towards the first table. So here you can see we have a product called a TV, mobile and laptop. Okay, and here are the cost for different products and here are the tax. Okay, so as you all know how to find total, so let's do the same. Is equal to sum and then the cost plus operator and then the tax. Hit enter. Okay, so we have got the total. Now let's copy the formula and paste it here and we have got the answer, right? And now let's use the auto handler. Okay, autofill handler, and we have got the answer. So now you can see whether we copied the formula or we use the autofill handler, the Excel understood that we want to Excel to copy these two cells. Okay, so these are the reference cells. Okay, so now let's see the first table. Okay, so let's make it little bit more complex. So here you can see the same products. Okay, so TV, mobile, laptop. This time the cost are different. Okay, then comes the shipping charges and then your tax. So now let's find the total. In order to find the total amount that we spent on a product, we have to add all these things. So cost plus shipping plus tax is equal to total amount spent, right? And here is the money. Okay, so this is the budget we have for the particular product. So when we are going to find the money left, we will going to use total amount of money we have minus the total we spent. Okay, that way we get the money left. First let's use the total. So is equal to sum and then cost plus shipping plus tax. Okay, now let's use the autofill handler and we have got the answers, right? You may also verify it if you want. Okay, so we have got the correct answers and you can see the formula changes its cells, right? Okay, so simply click on any cell and press F2, okay, to get the relative reference cells. Okay, like this. Okay, leave it. So now let's find out what money we have left. So let's use is equal to and simple formula, the cell minus total, right? Hit enter and we have got the answer. Now let's use autofill handler. Done. Okay. Okay, here is the value changes, because when I'm showing you the cell references, the value has actually changed. So let's try this again. Is equal to sum cost plus shipping plus tax. Okay, done. Now suppose for any reason the tax rate changes. Okay, so tax rate will increase to 150. Okay, hit enter. Remember, as soon as you hit enter, the total will also change and the money left will also changes, right? So let's see one more time. So suppose the tax rate has changed to 150 again. Now as soon as I hit enter, the total, which is 900, and the money left, which is 100, will also changes. See, right? One more thing, if you change the money you have, okay, so let's change this to 2800. So as soon as I hit enter, the money left will also change. See, so this is called a relative reference for a cell. So we have learned about relative reference. Now let's talk about absolute reference. So what is absolute reference? Well, absolute reference is a situation where the value of a cell or the formula in a cell must remain same while copying elsewhere. Okay, so the formula doesn't change here, unlike relative reference, right? So we will going to use a dollar sign in order to block the cell reference. Okay, so let's understand this with an example. So here are some numbers, okay, and we want all these numbers to multiply with a single number, which is 2. Okay, so how will we do that? Is equal to A3 multiply by B2. Hit enter and we have got the answer, right? Now let's use the autofill handler. But do you think that when we multiply 4 by 2, the answer would be 48? No, it's incorrect. So why this happen actually? It's all because of relative reference, right? So now let's see how to block this cell. Okay, because we want to multiply this number with 2, again 2 by 2, then 3 by 2, and then 4 by 2. Okay, so let's see how to do this. So in order to block a cell called B2, we will going to use dollar sign. Let's see how to do that. So here is the formula in formula bar. Let's select B2, okay, and use F4. So press F4. Okay, so it changes to $B $2, and if I hit F4 again, you will see B $2, and if I press F4 again, it changes to $B2, and if I do it again, it comes back to normal. So let's see what is actually happening here. So let me explain with the help of notepad. So okay, so first of all, let me increase the font size and let's change it to 24. Okay, now see, the normal situation is B2, and now we want to block this B2. So when I use F4 for the very first time in the formula bar, it changes to something like this, $B and then $2. Okay, when I use F4 again, it becomes B $2, and when I use again, it becomes $B2, and if I use F4 again, it come back to the normal mode, right? So what are these things? See, you understand that this is the normal cell. Okay, so B2 is a cell reference. Now dollar is used to block a particular thing in Excel. For example, $B$2, which means it's going to block. Okay, so it's actually blocking rows and column. Okay, row and column which we have selected, right? And the second thing, which is $B$2, which means it is blocking a row. Okay, so it's blocking a complete row, right? And now here in this situation, it is actually blocking a complete column, right? And again we will return to normal, right? So this is also normal. Now I hope you understand. Okay, so in order to block a cell, we will use this one. Okay, because it says block row and column where they are intersecting. Okay, so they are crossing each other at the cell B2, right? Because we don't want to block the complete row or a complete column, right? So let's do that, and let's select this again and use F4. Okay, so now it will work. Okay, so hit enter and let's use autofill handler. See, it worked. So 1 multiplied by 2 is equal to 2, 2 2s are 4, 3 2s are 6 and 4 2s are 8. Okay, so this way you can block a particular cell. Now let's see one more example. Suppose you have a car and you are traveling a distance of 200 kilometers. Okay, again by car you will travel 300 kilometers, and then using bus you are going to travel 500 kilometers, and then again using bus you will travel to 300 kilometers. Okay, now let's find out the total cost you spent on the gas. Okay, so the fuel cost would be, suppose, 9 per kilometer. Okay, per kilometer. So how would you calculate the cost of these different things? Okay, so if you travel by car, the gas cost would be 9 per kilometer, and if you travel by bus, the fuel cost would be somewhere around 5 per kilometer. Okay, so these are two different things. So this one is for car and this one is for bus. So here we will use the formula is equal to, again, cell multiply by car. Okay, so let's block this. Okay, so let's block G9 cell using F4. Hit enter, you will get the answer. Now use the autofill handler. See, 200 multiplied by 9 is equal to 1800 and 300 multiplied by 9 is equal to 2700. So answer is absolutely correct. Now here we have to change the blocking cell. So this time we will block G10. Okay, so let's block it using F4. Hit enter, and now let's use autofill handler. Okay, so I hope now you understand the meaning of absolute reference. In this video, we will talk about mixed referencing. So what is mixed referencing? In the previous lectures, you have learned about relative reference and absolute reference. So mixed referencing is nothing but a combination of absolute reference and relative reference. Okay, which means when we use absolute referencing and relative referencing at the same time, okay, when we use the combination of these two references, it is called as mixed referencing, right? So in the previous video, you have learned about a dollar sign which we use in order to block a cell or a row or a complete column, right? So we will see how we can use absolute reference and relative reference at the same time in order to solve a specific problem. So let's move toward the solution. Now suppose here are some numbers, okay, so 1, 2 and 3, again 1, 2 and 3. Now I want to multiply the numbers. For example, I want to multiply this with this. Again I want to multiply 2 with 1 and 3 with 1. Okay, so let's see how to do this. First of all, let's try with the old method, which is cell reference, operator, second cell. Hit enter and you will get the answer, right? But when I use the auto handler, okay, autofill handler, you will able to see that 2 ones are 2 is correct, but 3 ones are it not 6, okay, which means there is something wrong. So let's see what happened. So in the first cell it is absolutely correct, but when you move towards the second cell, okay, let me delete this first. Let me solve this again. So is equal to this multiply by this, hit enter. Okay, now let's see the formula here. You can see it's multiplying A3, which is correct, but with B2 and not B1. Okay, and what we want is we want to multiply A3 with B1 and not B2. Okay, and here we want to multiply A4 with B1. We want B1 to be constant in all of this. Okay, but you can see as we have used autofill handler, this position is also changing. See, here we have multiplied A4 with B3 and not B1. Okay, so how to solve this? As you have learned in the previous lecture, that we can select this and we can use F4 in order to block it, right? Okay, so let's try this here. Okay, so leave it here and let's move to here and let's block B1 using F4. Done. Okay, now let's use autofill handler. Now you have got your answer. Okay, so if you see the formula, now B1 becomes constant and these numbers are changing. Okay, that's what we want exactly. Okay, so now let me use the autofill handler to the right, but you can see the same answer, which means we actually want Excel to multiply 1 by 2 and 1 by 3, again 2 by 2 and 2 by 3, but what's actually happening is this cell becomes constant because we have blocked this cell. Okay, so the same way the same numbers are multiplying with this. Okay, so 1 ones are again 1, 2 ones are again 1 and 3 ones are again 1, right? So it's not right. See, it's multiplying B2 with B1. When you come here, you can see C2 into B1. Okay, but what we want this number to multiply by this. Okay, and again this number to multiply by this. So let's see how to solve it. So first of all, let me delete this. Now let's see the final solution, which is called as mixed referencing. So again, let me try this first into this. Done. Now let's see what we have to change in order to use mixed referencing. Okay, so here we want to block B1. Okay, and here we want to block A column. Okay, so first of all, let's block A column using F4. Okay, dollar sign is always used to block something. Okay, so here in this case, dollar sign is actually blocking a complete column, which means we are blocking A column completely but not the row. Okay, so row is free. Numbers here are absolutely free to move. Okay, and we also have to block row. Okay, so let me block the row first. Done. Now what this formula actually means is the final result is we are actually blocking a column, okay, but we are not blocking the row. So I hope now you understand that this is our final formula, okay, and we will going to use this because we want to multiply 1 by 1, 1 multiply by 2 and 1 multiply by 3, okay, which means rows are free and column is blocked, right? And when we move here, the formula changes automatically, okay, to give us the right answer. So let's use the autofill handler and let's see whether it works. Yes. Now let me drag it to the right. See, it worked, okay. So the final formula would be this, okay. So when we move here, okay, by using autofill handler, the formula changes automatically. See, it says block A2, which is this, okay, but not the row numbers, okay. So 1 has changes to 2 and 2 has changes to 3 as we want, right? So I hope now you understand. So let me give you an exercise. So again, here are some numbers. So let's say 2, 4, 6, okay, and again 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, okay. Now it's up to you how you can solve this. Our next topic is data validation. So what is data validation? Data validation is again a feature in Excel which allows you to define some restrictions for user input, which means what data a user is allowed to input in a cell and what not. Okay, so you can define them. You can define a range of data which is allowed and which is not. Okay, so this kind of thing will help you in your daily life. Like if you are conducting a survey and you want your user to input only from available 4 options and not the other, so you can use data validation. Let's see with an example. So let me create some data like name of your friends, okay, and then their contact number, okay, and do they eat apple on daily basis, okay, and then quantity, okay, and if they prefer exercise daily or not, okay. So suppose this is a small survey you are conducting, okay, in your friends group only, okay. So let me type some names here. So John, and let's say contact number would be anything, and then whether they eat apple or not and at what time, then how much quantity, and then whether they exercise or not, okay. So let me delete this first and let me show you data without data validation, okay, and then when you are using data validation. So I will show you the difference between the two, okay, which will also help you to find out how useful it is, okay. So the data without data validation would be something like this. Okay, first of all let me shift this here. Now I cannot restrict a name of a friend and their contact numbers, obviously, okay. So name would be anything, whatever they want they can type, okay. Now the things will remain same here as well, because I cannot restrict their names and I cannot force them to change their contact numbers, right. So these two would be remain free. Now here, without data validation, you can type anything which you want. Okay, suppose I want to know whether how many of my friends will eat apple in the morning. Okay, I don't want the data in afternoon or at the evening. But when we are using without data validation, your friend can type anything they want. Okay, but with data validation, okay, first of all, let's see how to restrict the data. So let's go to the data and let's select data validation. Okay, here it says validation criteria, right? So settings and then input message. So first of all, let's see the settings, and let me change this to list source. Okay, now I want my friends to enter only 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. okay, and nothing else, right? Click OK. Now when anyone try to type anything like 7 p.m. and hit enter, you will see an error which says this value doesn't match the data validation restrictions defined for this cell. Okay, so cancel this. Now you have forced user to select any one of these, okay, and not any other time, right? So you can do the same for this and this cell as well. So let me do it quickly for you. Again, data validation. Okay, this is the criteria. You can use anything which you want. If you want your user to use whole number, you can use this, but now I want only list. Again, quantity would be 1 and 2. Okay, so you cannot use anything other than 1 and 2, right? You can do the same thing for this as well. You can use yes or no, okay, and nothing else, right? So this is the basics of data validation. Now in the next lecture, I will show you the different types of data validation. Now let's talk about types of data validation. So you can restrict data to predefined items in a list. Okay, so this is the same thing which we have done in the previous lecture. Okay, remember this sheet here. Okay, so we have provided a list and a user can only input among these 4 options and not any other data. Okay, okay, so next thing is you can limit the number of characters, okay, or text, okay, in a particular cell. For example, if you want someone to enter their name, okay, but the characters would not be more than 15, so you can do that. Then you can also restrict time. You can also restrict date, okay, obviously based on a certain time frame, okay, and you can also restrict numbers. Okay, for example, you only allow user to enter number from 1 to 50, okay, and not more than that. So if someone tries to enter 55, then Excel will show an error of data validation. And the last is you can validate data based on formula or values in other cell. We will see this in the practical. So let's jump to the practicals. Now let me open a new sheet and let me leave this sheet open just for reference to use the last formula, which is validate data based on formulas. Okay, now suppose this is the area where you want to apply data validation. Okay, so let me highlight this. Okay, all borders done. Okay, so now you want users to input numbers from 1 to 100 only, okay, and not any other number. And you want users to show some error message, okay, or some customized error message. So let's see how to do this. First of all, let's select the area where you want to use data validation. Go to data and then data validation. Here you can see three different options. The first is settings, then input message, and then error alert. Let's see one by one. First is settings, okay, so let me change any value to whole number. Right now it's asking whether you want data between some numbers, okay, or equal to any number, or greater than or less than any number. So let's leave it to the between, and minimum number is 1 and maximum is 100. So a user is allowed to enter any number between 1 to 100, okay, and not any other data. Now let's move to input message. It says when a user select a cell, an input message will be shown, okay. So the title would be anything like enter numbers only, okay, and the input message would be you may allowed to enter numbers between 1 to 100 only, okay. And if someone tries to enter any other number, then show them an error message of stop, warning, or information. So let's use stop, okay, and the title would be stop. Error message, data validation, please enter correct number, okay, and click OK. All done. And you can see as the cell is selected, it's showing you the message, okay, the input message, which is enter numbers only. You may allowed to enter numbers between 1 to 100 only. And if I click anywhere else, you will see a normal cell, right? But when I click inside a data validation format, you will again see the numbers, okay, the message. Now let's type some number like 1, hit enter. You are allowed to enter. Let's try something like 55. Again you are allowed to enter. Now let's try something else like ABCD. Hit enter and it says data validation, please enter correct number, okay. And if I try something like 500, again I will see the error message, okay. So stop data validation, please enter correct number. So I hope now you understand how you can restrict numbers and how you can show the input message as well as the error message using data validation. In the previous practical, you have learned how you can define a particular range and also how you can show the input message and the error message, right? And now in this practical, you will going to ask your users whether you are a vegetarian or not, and you want answers only in yes or no, okay. So yes or no, and you don't want users to stop this time from entering other data, okay. Instead you only want to show them a warning message, right? And what I mean by this, let me show you with an example. So first of all, let me highlight this, okay, and then let's move to data validation, okay. This time we will going to select a list, okay, and we will going to provide options only yes or no. Let's move to input message again. Let me type data validation active, please select from the list only, and then the error message, but this time we will only want to show some warning, so warning, and error message would be please select yes or no. Okay, so here is the input message. Now let me select yes or no. Okay, so it's working. Now let's type something else. So A, B, C, D, hit enter. See, this time you have 4 different options. Okay, it's asking you please select yes or no. Okay, which is from the drop down list. Okay, but if you want to enter something else like A, B, C, D, then you can use the yes option and Excel will accept your input, right? So I hope you have understood the difference between stop and warning, right? Okay, but now it's your job to convince users only to select from yes or no and nothing else. Okay, now let's see one more practical based on the last point, which is validate data based on formula or values in other cell. Okay, now I leave these 3 things, which is the limit number of text, restrict time and restrict date. Okay, because I want you to solve or to use these functions on your own, because by the time you are watching this practical or previous lectures, you will able to perform these things on your own. Okay, so let me just show you quickly. So again, we have selected some cells. Let me highlight this first. Okay, and suppose you have cell values somewhere else. Okay, somewhere else, let's say in this cell. Okay, so let me type some values like numbers. Okay, and then again 1 2 3 4 5. Done. Now these numbers could be anywhere in the spreadsheet or in the another spreadsheet, that doesn't matter. Okay, so let me select this and let's apply the data validation. Again, select from list. See, every time in the previous lectures I used to type source on my own, but this time we already have a source somewhere else. Okay, so let's select it. So let me select the numbers here. Okay, and guys, every time you select your source for data validation, always select some blank cells as well. Okay, see, it has applied absolute reference automatically. Okay, again input message. So input message would be data validation active, then any message like select from the options available, and then the error alert. Okay, so this time let's leave it to stop. So stop, select numbers only, click OK. See, input message is shown. Now let's select anything from 1 2 3 4 5 and you can see some blank cells here. Okay, and the reason why I mentioned you to select some blank cells is, in future if you want to add something here like number 6, okay, so there is no need to configure data validation again and again. Okay, just go here and see the number 6 has added, right? In the same way, again if you need board numbers like 7 8, you can do that. Okay, so see, all numbers are available here. And one more thing, if you made any changes to this cells, which is your reference cell, like if you want to change 2 to 22, okay, you can immediately see the change here, right? But if you want to try something else, you cannot. Okay, Now if you delete some number from here, like let me delete 22 and leave it blank, you will see the same thing here. See, there is no option, right? So that's why I told you to select some of the blank cells just for future use. Okay, and this is called as validate data based on values in other cell, right? In the same way, instead of using values, you can use the formula as well. That doesn't make a difference, just select the source and then select your formula, right? So this is how you can use the data validation and its different types. Now let's talk about conditional formatting. So what is conditional formatting? So let me explain it with an example. So first let me enter some data. Okay, so here is some of the random data. Okay, now suppose I want you to highlight the number which is greater than 50. Okay, so how would you do that? First of all, you will going to search the number which is greater than 50, and when you found one, you will going to highlight it, right? Like this. Okay, and last one. Done. Okay, so this is how you would do it. But what if these numbers are in thousands? Okay, so in that case we will going to use a option called conditional formatting, okay, which is under home tab, right? So first let me delete this and let me create some or another data. Okay, so here are some numbers. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6, then 4 0 9 7. Okay, so here are some random numbers, and I want you to highlight all the numbers which are greater than 5. Okay, so first of all you have to select the data, then go to conditional formatting. Here you will see many options, okay, like highlight cell rules, then top 10 or bottom 10 rules, then data bars, then color scales, icon sets. Then you can create your own new rule, you can clear existing rules, and you can also manage rules, right? So in our case we will going to select greater than option, okay, under conditional formatting. So let's select it. Now it's asking format cells that are greater than 5. So 5. Now here are some inbuilt options, like if you want to fill it light red, fill with dark red text, okay, or you can select any of the options below, right? Or you can also select custom format. Here you can also change the font if you want, okay. For example, if I want to highlight all the numbers in bold, I will select bold. Again, let's select the color. For example, I will go with red, okay, and then let me remove this. Go to fill, select the color which you want to fill in the cell, okay, for example yellow. Click OK. Again, see, all the numbers which are greater than 5 are highlighted, okay. So this is the way you can instruct Excel to perform the task, right? Now let's see one more exercise. So again, here are some values. So let me enter some random values. Okay, now I want to highlight the numbers starting from 0, okay. So this is the base value 0, and I want all the numbers till 22, okay. So I want to highlight all the numbers between 0 and 22. So again, select the data, go to conditional formatting. This time we will select the option called between. Now here, instead of typing number, what we can do is we can click here and then select the value. Again, select the next cell. Okay, so it will block this cell. Okay, and then okay, see, all the numbers between 0 to 22 are highlighted. Okay, so this one is greater than and this one is between two numbers. Okay, and there are some more options as well, but for now let's see how we can remove these rules. Okay, so the first option is select clear rules. Here you can see two options. The first one is clear rules from selected cells, that is clear rule only from the data which you have selected, or you have an option of clear rules from entire sheets. So suppose there are 10 different databases in this sheet and you want to remove all of them at once. In that case you will select the second option, but for now let's select the first one. See, the rule is now cleared. Okay, and if I go to conditional formatting again and click clear rules, select this second option, you will see all of the rules in this entire spreadsheet is now cleared. Now you might be thinking that where you would going to use conditional formatting in the real world. Well, suppose you are a storekeeper and in your store there are many products. Now you want to highlight the products which are less than 10 so that you can reorder the stock. Okay, so in that case you can use conditional formatting. And also you have learned how you can apply conditional formatting and how to remove it. But what if you just want to modify it instead of removing the conditional formatting? So let's see. First let me apply the conditional formatting again. Okay, now let's see how you can modify this. Go to conditional formatting. Here you can see manage rules. Okay, it says create, edit, delete and view all conditional formatting rules. So here it is. So you have to double click on it and here we go. Here you can change anything which you want. Okay, you can change the number or you can change the format. Okay, you can change the fill format. Suppose let me change this to green. Okay, and let me use the special effect which is called strike through. Okay, and now click OK, again OK. Now click on apply. Okay, see, it's changed, right? So this way you can modify it. Also remember, this data has conditional formatting, right? So if I change this number which is 3 and I change it to 8 and I hit enter, it will automatically highlight the number, right? Or if I change 6 into 3, you will see there is no highlight. Okay, because 3 is less than 5, right? So this way you can use conditional formatting. Okay, now let me give you one more data. Okay, so let's take the example of this data. So here is the data. I want you to highlight the numbers which are less than 22. Okay, this time less than 22. Okay, and I also want you to highlight the numbers which are greater than 80. Okay, I am not typing the complete sentence, but I hope you will understand. And the third is I want you to highlight the numbers between 30 to up to 70. Okay, but remember one thing, the numbers which are less than 22, I want you to highlight them as yellow. Okay, and the numbers which are greater than 80, I want you to highlight them as green, and the number which is in between 30 to 70, I want you to highlight them as red. Okay, so how would you do that? Well, just pause the video and do it yourself, and once done you can resume it. Okay. Okay, I hope you have done it. So let me show you how to do this in a correct way. So select the data, go to conditional formatting, then our first situation is less than, so select less than, enter the number which is 22. Okay, and here select the custom format. Okay, then again select the color, click OK. Done. Now second is select the numbers which are greater than 80. Okay, so we have to highlight them. This time we use greater than, enter the number, or you can simply select this cell. Okay, go to custom format, select the color. Okay, again OK. Okay, we have to select the data each time we will going to apply conditional formatting. Okay, that's the reason conditional formatting has not applied here. So again let me type the data which is 80, custom format, color. Okay, done. And the third is to highlight the numbers between 30 to 70. So again select the data, go to conditional formatting, select the between. Okay, you can simply enter the number here, 30 to 70, custom format, select the color, again OK. See, so this way you can use conditional formatting in different ways. So you have learned about conditional formatting. Now if you want to become an Excel expert, you have to perform it yourself. For example, once you understand the concept of any function in Excel, you could create a random data of your own and you could play around with different options. For example, I told you about conditional formatting and I used greater than, less than and between, but I have not used the other options, right? So you could create your own data and you can use them. They are very easy to use and understand, right? So here is one more data. So let's see what it is. So these are some products. I hope you understand that these are 10 different products. Okay, so P1 is product 1, P2 is product 2. Okay, so these are different items and these are sales figure. Okay, these are for day 1 and these are for day 2 and these are for day 3 of a month, right? So you can also use conditional formatting in different ways, like you could go for data bars. Okay, so let me select this one. Okay, see, it has highlighted something like this. Okay, it depends on number. So if I increase the number here and if I hit enter, let me increase some more. See, you can see a bar. Okay, so green means more sales, right? So let me increase the numbers. Okay, and if I increase them more, see, the more the number, the greener the bar is. Okay, so it's like a graphical representation to help understand that which product is selling more on which day. Okay, you could also use it like color scales. So let me use this one. Okay, so wherever you see a red bar, okay, or red fill, then it's denoting the product which are selling very less. Okay, and the more the greener, the greater the sale. Okay, and then comes the yellow, right, which are just average products. Okay, so this way you can also make it more easier to read. Okay, and if you could go for icon sets, you can also use them. Okay, See, you can use the 3 different options, right? So this way you can differentiate a data and it's looking like a graphical representation to help understand your data better.